You're sipping your morning coffee on a serene lakeside deck, the sun glinting off crystal clear waters, when suddenly, the roar of heavy machinery shatters the peace. A bulldozer charges toward your property, driven by a furious woman with a clipboard and a vendetta. She doesn't know it yet, but she's about to awaken a force of nature, me, the quiet neighbor who holds the key to the dam upstream. By the end of this tale, her manicured garden will be a soggy ruin, and justice will flow like a torrent. Stick around, you won't believe how one petty act spirals into epic revenge. My name is Alex, and I've lived on the shores of Willow Lake for over a decade. This isn't just a house, it's my sanctuary. Towering oaks and willows line the water's edge, their branches dipping like old friends into the gentle waves. They provide shade, privacy, and a buffer against the nosy eyes of the homeowners association. The HOA here is notorious rules upon rules about everything from paint colors to pet leashes. But I'd always flown under the radar, tending my garden and enjoying the quiet life. That all changed one crisp autumn morning. I was out back, pruning my rose bushes, when I heard the unmistakable rumble. Peering over the fence, I saw her, Karen Wilkins, the self-appointed HOA enforcer. She was in her mid-50s, with perfectly coiffed hair, a string of pearls, and an expression that could curdle milk. Karen had moved in 2 years ago and quickly risen to power in the association, citing violations left and right. Neighbors whispered about her fines for overgrown lawns or unauthorized bird feeders. She marched up to my gate, waving a sheaf of papers. "Mr. Thompson, your trees are in violation of Section 4.2, encroaching on communal views," she barked. I blinked in confusion. Those trees had been there longer than the HOA itself. They weren't blocking anything, if anything, they enhanced the landscape. But Karen insisted they obstructed her premium lake vista from her backyard deck. Her house sat on a slight rise, overlooking the water, and apparently, my foliage was ruining her Instagram-worthy sunsets. I tried reasoning. "Karen, these trees are native, over 50 years old. They're not going anywhere." She huffed, her face turning beet red. "We'll see about that. The board has approved removal if you don't comply by week's end." With that, she stormed off, leaving me stunned. Little did I know, this was just the spark. The real firestorm was brewing, and it involved more than just chainsaws. It involved water, lots of it. As days passed, notices piled up in my mailbox. Fines threatened, meetings scheduled. I attended one HOA gathering, where Karen dominated the floor, painting me as the neighborhood villain. "We must preserve our views for all," she proclaimed to nodding heads. I felt isolated, but a seed of resentment took root. My property deed included something special: control over the small dam upstream, a relic from the lake's creation for irrigation. It was my grandfather's legacy, granting me authority to manage water levels for the community. Karen had no clue. Tensions escalated when I refused to budge. One night, I caught her snooping around my yard with a measuring tape. "Just ensuring compliance," she smirked. I warned her off, but the next day, the bulldozer arrived. Hired by the HOA, it tore into my trees without mercy. Wood chips flew, roots uprooted. My heart sank as decades of growth vanished in hours. Neighbors watched from afar, too scared to intervene. But as the dust settled, I remembered the dam. A plan formed, a watery reckoning. This wasn't just about trees, it was about boundaries crossed. With the trees gone, my lakeside view felt exposed, vulnerable. The once shaded shore now baked under the sun, and privacy evaporated like morning mist. Karen's victory lap was swift. She hosted a neighborhood appreciation barbecue that very weekend, her garden blooming triumphantly in the background. Roses, tulips, exotic ferns, she'd poured thousands into that floral fortress, complete with fountains and statues. It was her pride, her domain. But as I stewed in silence, plotting my next move, I delved deeper into our shared history, uncovering why this feud felt personal. Flashback to when Karen first arrived. The lake community was tight-knit, a mix of retirees and young families escaping city chaos. I'd inherited my home from Grandpa, who built the dam in the 1960s to regulate floods and supply water. It wasn't glamorous, just a concrete barrier with sluice gates, but it gave me veto power over water releases. The HOA knew of it vaguely, but details were buried in old deeds. Karen, a former real estate agent, bought the biggest lot, boasting about her vision for the area. She immediately pushed for stricter rules, fining folks for minor infractions. I stayed neutral until she targeted me. Why? Jealousy, perhaps. My property had the best direct lake access, and those trees symbolized independence from her control. Post-bulldozing, I filed complaints with the county. Turns out, the trees were protected under environmental regs, native species aiding erosion control. The HOA overstepped, but Karen twisted it, claiming emergency action. Lawyers got involved, costs mounted. Meanwhile, she reveled, posting photos of her improved view on the community forum. Comments praised her, but anonymous gripes hinted at brewing dissent. One evening, nursing a beer on my dock, a neighbor slipped over. Old Mr. Jenkins, who'd lived here forever. "Alex, that dam of yours, use it wisely. Karen's garden sits in the low spot, a good rain could swamp it." His wink sparked inspiration. The dam wasn't just for floods, I could adjust levels subtly, raising the lake inch by inch. Research ensued. I pored over maps, weather forecasts. A storm was coming, perfect cover. But ethics nagged. Was this revenge or justice? Those trees weren't replaceable, they'd filtered water, housed birds. Karen destroyed an ecosystem for vanity. As rain clouds gathered, I visited the dam. Rusty gates creaked under my touch. A test release confirmed, water could flow downstream, pooling in vulnerable areas like Karen's yard. Plan solidified: wait for the downpour, then open the gates just enough to flood her garden without endangering homes. But first, confrontation. I knocked on her door. "You destroyed my property. Replant or face consequences." She laughed. "Sue me, tree hugger." Door slammed. Fury ignited. That night, thunder rolled. I hiked to the dam, key in hand. As rain pelted, I turned the wheel. Water surged. By dawn, her garden would be Atlantis. Yet doubts lingered. Was I becoming the monster? The story was far from over. The rain started as a drizzle, but by midnight, it was a deluge. Lightning cracked the sky, illuminating the lake's swelling surface. From my window, I watched water lap higher on the shore, inching toward Karen's pristine fence. The dam's release was calculated enough to overflow the natural basin her garden occupied, but not catastrophic. As I lay in bed, adrenaline pumping, memories flooded back, weaving the tapestry of this escalating war. It began innocently enough. When Karen moved in, she seemed charming at the welcome potluck. "Let's make this the envy of the county," she'd enthused. But cracks showed quickly. She nitpicked my boat dock's paint, claiming it clashed with community aesthetics. I repainted to keep peace. Then came the tree saga. Pre-bulldozing, she'd sent certified letters, each more aggressive. "Non-compliance will result in forced removal at your expense." I consulted a lawyer friend, who advised mediation. At the meeting, Karen dominated, her allies on the board nodding like puppets. "The views are communal property," she argued. I presented evidence, deeds showing trees predated the HOA. Dismissed. Post-destruction, my yard looked scarred stumps like gravestones. Birds that nested there vanished, erosion began immediately. I planted saplings, but maturity would take years. Anger simmered. Now, with the storm raging, I monitored the lake level via an old gauge app on my phone. It rose steadily. By 2 a.m., reports trickled in, neighbors texted about minor flooding. Karen's house, downhill, was prime target. Dawn broke gray and wet. I ventured out, raincoat slick. The lake had risen 2 feet, my doing, amplified by nature. Karen's garden? A shallow pond. Flowers floated like debris, statues tilted in mud. She emerged, shrieking, wading in galoshes. What happened? This is impossible. I feigned concern, strolling over. Storm was bad. Maybe check your drainage. Her eyes narrowed. This isn't natural. The lake never floods like this. Suspicion dawned, but proof? None yet. The HOA emergency meeting convened that afternoon. Karen ranted about freak anomalies, demanding investigations. I sat quietly, offering, perhaps it's karma for the trees. Snickers rippled, her popularity waned. But she wasn't done. Hired a surveyor, who noted unusual water patterns. Whispers reached me, she suspected sabotage. Tension mounted as cleanup began. Her garden ruined, thousands in damages. Meanwhile, I reinforced my position. Contacted environmental agencies, fines loomed for the HOA's tree removal. Victory tasted sweet, but incomplete. As days dried out, Karen plotted her comeback. Little did she know, the dam held more secrets and I wasn't finished. With her garden a muddy mess, Karen transformed from enforcer to victim. She paraded through the neighborhood, soliciting sympathy and signatures for a flood relief fund, code for suing someone. Her once vibrant blooms were wilted casualties, fountains clogged with silt. As workers hauled away debris, she eyed my property suspiciously, the wheels turning. This chapter of our saga shifted from action to intrigue, as she dug for dirt, unaware I was steps ahead. First, the surveyor report, abnormal water surge, possibly from upstream release. Karen pounced, demanding dam records. But access? Mine alone, per deed. She petitioned the county, claiming negligence. Officials visited, I showed logs falsified slightly to blame the storm. Routine maintenance, I explained. They bought it, citing natural causes. Neighbors divided. Some, tired of her tyranny, secretly cheered. Mrs. Lee confided, about time someone stood up. Others feared escalation. Karen hosted town halls, accusing me indirectly. Certain individuals control vital resources irresponsibly. I attended one, countering calmly, focus on replanting my trees instead. Privately, I fortified. Installed cameras at the dam, monitored remotely. Weather apps became my Bible, another storm loomed. But ethics resurfaced. Had I gone too far? Her garden was her sanctuary, like my trees were mine. Yet, reciprocity felt just. Karen escalated, hired a private investigator. He snooped, questioning folks about my routines. One night, I spotted him near the dam trail. Confronted, he fled. Paranoia set in for both of us. Then, a breakthrough for her, old HOA minutes mentioning my grandfather's dam rights. She rallied the board for a takeover vote. For community safety. Emergency session called. I prepared counterarguments, gathering allies. The meeting was tense. Karen presented dramatically, photos of her flooded yard, estimates for repairs. This was deliberate. Accusations flew. I revealed the environmental violations from tree removal fines could bankrupt the HOA. Gasps echoed. Vote tied, deadlock. Defeated but undeterred, she confronted me privately. I know it was you. Prove me wrong. I smiled. Nature's unpredictable, Karen. She stormed off, vowing war. As the next storm approached, I pondered restraint. But her next move, a lawsuit threat, sealed it. Time for round two. The rain returned, fiercer. At the dam, I adjusted gates again. Water rose, targeting her anew. This time, her basement flooded slightly. Chaos ensued. Yet, cracks in my plan appeared. A witness. Complications brewed. As water receded from the second flood, Karen's fury peaked. Her home now smelled of mildew, insurance balked at act of God claims. She became a whirlwind of activity, filing complaints with every agency imaginable. But in this pivotal turn, the dam's full history emerged, shifting power dynamics and exposing vulnerabilities on both sides. My grandfather built the dam not just for utility, but as a safeguard. Documents I unearthed showed it prevented major floods in the 70s, earning community gratitude. Control passed to me via will, with clauses against transfer without consent. Karen's board discovered this, but twisted it, outdated privilege endangering us all. Her investigator struck gold, or so she thought. Photos of me at the dam during storms. She presented them at a special HOA assembly, demanding revocation. Proof of tampering. The room buzzed. I countered with experts, hydrologists confirming releases were within norms, blaming climate change. Allies rallied. Jenkins testified about Karen's overreaches. Others shared fines they'd paid unjustly. Momentum swung. Vote to investigate me failed. Privately, Karen ambushed me at the market. Admit it, you flooded me on purpose. Eyes wild, she poked my chest. I stayed composed. Prove it. She couldn't, but vowed to. Meanwhile, I reflected on the toll. Sleepless nights, constant vigilance. Friends urged de-escalation. You've made your point. But her persistence fueled me. A twist, county review favored me, citing HOA's tree violation as root cause. Deforestation worsened erosion, exacerbating floods. Fines hit the association, $10,000. Karen, as president, bore blame. Enraged, she pushed for my ouster from the community. Petitions circulated. But backlash grew, her tyranny alienated many. As tensions simmered, a third storm hit unplanned. Lake levels rose naturally. I held back, watching. Her yard flooded again, mildly. She accused me anyway. This prompted soul-searching. Revenge satisfied, but at what cost? Community fractured. Resolution neared. I proposed truce, replant trees, drop fines. She refused initially. Then, breakthrough, her investigator quit, citing ethics. Leaked emails showed her plotting false claims. Confronted, she crumbled. Apology? Not yet. But the dam's power remained my ace. One final release? Tempting. The story veered toward climax, with alliances forming and secrets spilling. With the community split, alliances formed like battle lines. Karen's once loyal board fractured, 2 members resigned, citing her bullying. Whispers of impeachment circulated. In this chapter of shifting loyalties, betrayals emerged, pushing our feud toward an inevitable showdown. I garnered support quietly. Neighborhood barbecues became strategy sessions. She's gone too far, folks said, sharing stories of her fines. Jenkins became my confidant, revealing old grudges Karen had once fined him for holiday lights. Her side. Diehards who feared change. She canvassed door to door, painting me as a water tyrant. Lawsuit filed, negligence, property damage. My lawyer laughed it off, lack of evidence. A betrayal stung, a supposed ally leaked my dam visit logs to her. How? Hacked camera feed? Paranoia peaked. I upgraded security, but damage done. She amended her suit with proof. Court date loomed. Prep consumed me, witnesses, affidavits. Experts testified, floods consistent with weather patterns. Meanwhile, Karen's garden rebuild faltered. Contractors quit, citing cursed ground. Superstition. Or sabotage rumors. A turning point, anonymous tip to me: Karen bribed the surveyor for biased reports. Evidence. Emails. I confronted the board, scandal erupted. Impeachment vote, she lost, stripped of presidency. Humiliated, she isolated. But vengeance burned. One night, vandalism at the dam gates jammed. Her doing? No proof, but suspicion. Repaired, I contemplated full release, submerge her yard permanently. Restraint 1, barely. Community meeting called for peace. I spoke first, let's heal. Replant, forgive. Karen, cornered, agreed reluctantly. Truce fragile. Storms passed without incident. Yet, undercurrents remained. Her glares across the lake hinted at unfinished business. As calm returned, I wondered, was revenge worth the rift? The tale neared its peak, with final confrontations awaiting. Peace proved illusory. Karen, demoted but defiant, plotted in shadows. Whispers of her hiring experts to challenge dam ownership reached me. This chapter surged toward climax, as I unleashed the ultimate response, turning the tide definitively. Trigger, she petitioned state for dam inspection, alleging safety hazards. Inspectors arrived, minor issues noted, but control affirmed mine. Enraged, she vandalized again, marks on gates. Caught on camera this time. Evidence in hand, I filed charges. Her arrest shocked the community. Bailed out, she confronted me, you'll pay. Storm season peaked. Massive front incoming. Opportunity struck. I warned neighbors, then opened gates wide, controlled flood, but targeted. Water rose rapidly. Her yard submerged deep, garden obliterated, water lapping her porch. She evacuated, screaming sabotage. Authorities investigated, logs showed emergency release for downstream safety. Her suit dismissed, countersuit won damages for vandalism. Garden gone, spirit broken, she sold her house. Community mended, trees replanted. Revenge complete, but lessons lingered. With Karen's departure, the lake exhaled. Her house sold quickly to a quiet couple. My tree saplings grew, shore stabilized. This reflective chapter unpacked the fallout, weighing wins against wounds. Community thrived without her. HOA reformed fairer rules, my input on water management. Personally, satisfaction mixed with regret. Feud consumed years, friendships strained. Karen. Rumors of her in a condo, far from water. No contact since. I visited the dam often, reminded of power's responsibility. Justice served, but at cost. Balance restored. With Karen gone, silence blanketed Willow Lake. Her former allies scattered, some apologizing privately. We were blind, one said. The new HOA president, a reasonable soul, prioritized harmony. Meetings became collaborative, fines rare. My yard healed slowly. Saplings stretched toward the sun, birds returned. The exposed shore? I built a natural barrier with shrubs, enhancing beauty. Reflecting, the feud started small, views versus nature, but ballooned. Karen's entitlement clashed with my stewardship. The dam, symbol of legacy, became weapon and shield. Costs tallied, legal fees, emotional toll. Nights replaying floods, questioning morality. Was drowning her garden proportional? Trees irreplaceable, but so was peace. Rumors filtered, Karen in therapy, regretting moves? A letter arrived anonymously hinting remorse. Lessons learned. Hers. Or mine. Community bonded stronger. Annual lake cleanups, barbecues. I shared dam knowledge, educating on ecology. Yet scars remained. Erosion from lost trees persisted, I invested in restoration. Ultimately, victory bittersweet. Power tempts corruption, restraint defines character. As seasons turned, life normalized. But echoes lingered, a cautionary tale. Years later, Willow Lake flourished. My story became legend, whispered warnings against overreach. This final chapter ties threads, offering wisdom from watery warfare. Key takeaway: boundaries matter. Karen crossed mine, I flooded hers. Balance key. Community wiser, HOA emphasizes dialogue over dictates. Personally, I manage the dam judiciously, prioritizing environment. If facing a Karen, document, ally, respond proportionally. Revenge satisfies momentarily, forgiveness endures. Lake calm now, trees tall. Story ends, but ripples continue. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more. Years on, the lake's tranquility returned fully. Saplings matured into sturdy guardians, shading my deck once more. Birds nested, fish jumped, ecosystem reborn. The dam stood sentinel, its gates rarely stirred beyond necessity. Reflecting on the saga, lessons crystallized. First, entitlement breeds conflict. Karen's view obsession ignored communal good. Second, hidden powers can level fields, my dam control equalized imbalance. Community evolved, HOA charter amended for transparency, member votes on major decisions. No more unilateral bulldozings. I became informal advisor, sharing grandpa's wisdom on water management. Workshops on erosion, native plants fostered unity. Karen's fate? She relocated to a desert suburb, ironic, no floods. Social media showed her in cacti gardens, subdued. My life? Enriched. New friends, deeper appreciation for peace. The feud taught resilience, strategy. Advice for viewers, facing bullies. Gather evidence, build alliances, strike smartly. But pause, escalation costs all. Revenge's thrill fades, restoration endures. As sun sets over the lake, I'm grateful. Story shared, hoping it inspires justice without excess. Thanks for joining. Like, comment, subscribe.